So now my rent is going up, but that's a whole other story. My upstairs neighbor decided he wants to be a DJ. First, some background. Most people who live in apartments expect a little noise. A TV on too loud, a dog barking once in a while, footsteps here and there, it's normal. You sign up for it when you don't live in a house, but what happens when your upstairs neighbor thinks your ceiling is their dance floor? Every single night, that is exactly what happened to me. Now, let me take you back to when I first moved into this apartment building in New York City. It wasn't fancy. Just one of those old brick walk-ups. A little creaky, small kitchen, thin walls, but cheap rent. And hey, cheap rent in New York? You don't complain. At first, everything was fine. My downstairs neighbor was quiet, an older lady who loved knitting. We'd pass in the hallway and exchange a smile, but upstairs, it was a different story, the guy above me. Let's call him Jake. Jake was in his late 20s, worked some kind of sales job during the day, and at night, well, he turned into a wannabe DJ. I don't mean he practiced quietly with headphones on. No. Every night, and I mean every night, he blasted music through giant speakers, bass so strong my ceiling fan would literally rattle. The first night I thought, okay, maybe he's celebrating. The second night I thought, fine, maybe he just broke up with someone and he's blowing off steam. The third night I realized, oh no, this is his lifestyle. So I did the polite thing. I went upstairs, knocked on his door. He opened it, shirt off, holding a red Solo cup, friends behind him dancing. I said, hey man, sorry to bother you. Just wondering if you could keep the music down a little? I work early mornings, he smirked, and said, yeah, sure, no problem. Door slammed. Music went right back up, louder. Okay, fine, maybe he just forgot. Next night, same thing. I went upstairs again. Same routine, he promises. Nothing changes. This went on for a week. And let me tell you something. When you're sleep deprived, when you're tossing and turning at 3 a.m. listening to bass pounding through your pillow, you start losing your mind. I would sit up in bed staring at the ceiling thinking, I can't live like this. So I talked to the landlord. You know what the landlord said? Yeah, Jake pays his rent on time. Can't do much unless you call the cops. So I did. Guess what? The cops came. One time, told him to turn it down. He waited 15 minutes. Then cranked it back up again. At this point, I'm exhausted, I'm angry, and I'm desperate. And that's when I realized, if I can't beat the noise, maybe I can fight back with noise of my own. See, Jake loved blasting his music late at night, but he also loved sleeping in late. I knew this because on weekends, I'd see him stumbling in at 6 a.m., sunglasses on, dragging himself upstairs. That's when the light bulb went off. So I bought 2 giant bass speakers. Not little ones, not desktop speakers. Big, heavy subwoofer speakers. I mounted them on the ceiling of my apartment, pointing straight up at his floor. I downloaded a playlist of whale sounds, foghorns, thunderstorms, all those deep rumbling noises that shake your bones. And I set them on a timer, every morning, 5 a.m. sharp. My apartment turned into an underwater nightmare. The first day I could hear him jump out of bed upstairs, stomping, running around. He probably thought there was construction outside. The second day I let it run for 30 minutes. By the third day, he was banging on my door. I opened it with the biggest fake yawn. Oh, hey, Jake, sorry, did the noise wake you up? I'm just doing some meditation. It really helps me start my day. He looked like a zombie, bags under his eyes, hair a mess. He muttered something and stormed back upstairs. But the noise war had officially begun. That night, he turned his music up louder than ever. So the next morning, I adjusted my timer to start at 4:30, 15 minutes earlier, and so it went. He'd blast music at 2 a.m. I'd blast whale calls at 4 a.m. He'd crank up the bass. I'd set my speakers to vibrate the entire ceiling. The building became a battlefield of sound. Here's the thing, though. I could nap during the day. I could adjust. But Jake? Jake had a 9-to-5 job. He had to show up in the morning looking sharp, and every day he looked worse and worse. One morning, I actually heard him screaming at his alarm clock. Another morning, he dragged his mattress into the living room like moving 6 feet away from me was going to save him. Spoiler, it didn't. 2 weeks in, I ran into him in the hallway. He looked destroyed. Pale, eyes red like he hadn't slept in days. He leaned in close and whispered, "Man, please, stop. I can't take it anymore." And I just smiled and said, "Oh, Jake, I totally understand. If you keep your nights quiet, my mornings will be peaceful too. Deal?" He nodded like a broken man. That night, for the first time in weeks, silence. And let me tell you, I slept like a baby. From then on, the noise stopped. Every once in a while, he'd have friends over, sure. But never again did he blast his speakers past midnight. It was like taming a wild animal with its own medicine. Sometimes revenge doesn't need shouting or fighting or police. Sometimes you just have to be more annoying than the other person. And in the war of noise, I won. I gotta say, winning the war of noise is a pretty great feeling. It's almost as good as winning the war of Wi-Fi. Yes, I remember that battle well. My upstairs neighbor was using the same Wi-Fi name and password as me. And, nobody messes with the Wi-Fi of the beta tester. I won that war too, but that wasn't our only victory today. Oh no, we also fought the war of trash disposal. Yes, the bane of all apartment dwellers, the garbage disposal system. Sounds simple, but it's a minefield waiting to explode. One wrong move and your apartment will reek. I'll never forget the time I put cheese down the disposal. I think I got most of it out, but a tiny chunk must have stayed behind because the next time I flushed, it smelled like dirty socks for days. But today we are conquering that mountain of waste with the mighty trash glider. That's right, folks. The trash glider is here to save the day. Now, if you've ever tried to take out the trash, you know it's not always smooth sailing. Food waste starts to smell, plastic bags get stuck, and if you live in a building, well, you're part of a smelly community. Enter the trash glider. No more smelly food waste sitting in your kitchen. Just load up the trash glider and push it to the curb. Yep, the trash glider is on wheels. It has a handle and it has a lid that locks in the smell. Look at that sleek design. The trash glider is made of high-quality, durable plastic. It's built to last. I've taken mine to the curb hundreds of times and it looks brand new. They even thought about the little things like rubber feet so it doesn't scratch your floor. Plus, it's odor resistant. It comes in a variety of colors so you can pick the one that suits you best. And the best part, it's dishwasher safe. Yeah, you heard me right, dishwasher safe. Who knew taking out the trash could be so easy? It is the perfect apartment hack. Trust me, your back will thank you. It's so cool. You just want a little peace and quiet, but your upstairs neighbor seems to think your ceiling is their personal dance floor. Well, now you know how to fight back. Just remember, in the battle of noise, the only weapon more powerful than bass is revenge. In the war of noise, I won.